Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective. In this video, I'll be doing my review of NXT No Mercy. So to start the night, we had Axiom and Nathan Fraser regain the Tag Team Championship off of Chase U. And yeah, it was a match that was very good, like very much surprised me. I do forget how good Andre Chase really is, to be fair. Like I know that Rich Holland can go when he wants to, but Andre Chase, I always forget kind of how good he is, really. He hit a massive Spanish fly off the top rope for an incredibly close call. And this match, like again, was so high octane, very fast paced, action packed. Never really had a dull moment. That yeah, it just like flew by, and the falls were really close throughout. It was just a match that kind of came out of nowhere for me anyway. And yeah, it was a result that I was very surprised about. Again, Chase U get quite a short reign with the Tag Team Championships. I assumed that we were going to see the split of Axiom and Nathan Fraser, but again, it seems to be this weird thing where when they are miscommunicating and they're not on the same page, they win matches, and yet the one time they were actually on the same page, they lost the titles to Chase U. So they're a team that work better when they're not on the same page, which is very weird for a team anyway, like, and a successful team like Nathan Fraser and Axiom as well. But yeah, I look forward to seeing who they go for next. I assume maybe the Rascals will be next out of the triple threat we're going to have on Wednesday night on NXT. And yeah, then after the match, Rich Holland attacked Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne before targeting Andre Chase and putting him on the table. It was, I don't think he was supposed to go through the table, but it did weaken the table, which we will talk about in a bit. But yeah, I thought it was a decent attack from Rich Holland. I'm curious to see why this has happened. I can't help but feel like Sean Spears may have something to do with this, but yeah, I'm curious to see what happens next and when Andre Chase will return. I'm sure a massive pop if he doesn't, as long as he doesn't return like on Wednesday straight away. Like I'm hoping they leave him out for a little bit and kind of Chase U don't know what to do without him, and then he comes back to a massive pop. I feel like they might have done that before, but I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly. It was probably when I wasn't watching NXT all the time. But yeah, I think it was, as I said, it was a really good match to start. I think it was a good sign of things to come, and yeah, just a great way to get the show started. After that, we had Zachary Wentz defeat Wesley in a surprise result, I would say. I expected very much that Wesley would get the win here, but it was an incredibly fast start. You could tell that both of them have great chemistry together and that know each other very well just because of the transitional wrestling they were doing. You know, neither man could really get that big hit on each other until Wentz kind of got a couple super kicks in, and then he kind of took control of the match for a bit. But yeah, this was very evenly matched. I thought that, especially for like the first half of the match at least, they were both going for big moves very early and were doing like just amazing stuff like flips and all this high flying stuff, and it was all really good. And like I said, it was very surprising how good this really was. I thought they might hold back a little bit and then have a rematch at some point in the future, but yeah, for me this was match of the night, surprisingly enough. And yeah, I think that the selling from Wesley was absolutely fantastic. You know, just again, throughout this match there was great transitional wrestling, and the table broke kind of because of Ridge. Like they think Wesley did a spinning heel kick. Wesley was supposed to land on the table. I think they were to do a table spot on the outside, but the table broke literally as soon as Zachary Wentz kind of went towards it almost, which was fine because they kind of edited it, and Wesley did a meteora to the outside, which probably would have been worse than just like a splash or something to Wentz on the outside, and it was a really cool spot to have. We saw the kind of the return of Trey Miguel, if you want, as a kind of someone who stopped Wesley from using the X Division Championship, which I assume will probably come into play a bit later on between these two. And yeah, just the final sequence of the match was very good, like very high. Again, high octane was like the word of this match, and just the destroyer on the outside, and then this, I don't know what they call it. I think I wrote it down. No, I didn't. Kind of Zachary Wentz did a Canadian destroyer on the outside, put Wesley back in the ring, and then he kind of did a springboard arm drag and then into an RKO, well, cutter. And yeah, it was just an awesome finish to just see happen. Like it was like Saul Rucker's version of the cutter as well, just a really cool way of doing it. And yeah, that got him the 1-2-3, and it was a very surprising result. Though like with Zachary Wentz being the X Division champion, it wouldn't surprise me if TNA kind of wanted him to win this first match. It also wouldn't shock me if we went on to a TNA pay-per-view, maybe the Victory Road I think is coming up, or maybe even Slammiversary. where Wesley takes the X Division Championship from Wentz, and then at Halloween Havoc we get Wentz winning the title back from Lee or something like that. I don't know. I feel like the X Division Championship is going to end up on Wesley at some point, I feel like. But yeah, so yeah, like a prospect that should be really good. I'm glad that these guys are probably going to have to go again. And yeah, maybe they even carry this feud on by having them win the triple threat for the tag titles and then having Wesley cost the Rascals for the NXT tag titles again. So either way, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing these two go again. Match of the night for me, very much enjoyable, though like the quality of wrestling on the show was very good as well. So for this to stand out, I think really paid a detriment to how good these two really went in that match. After that, we had Kalani Jordan successfully retain the Women's North American Championship against Wendy Chu in a match that was solid. Like, I really got much to say about this one. I thought that Chu was much more of a competitive challenger than I thought she was going to be, and what was also good and what stuck out to me as well was the fact that even though Chu is a spooky character, she wasn't no-selling. Like, she was selling very well, and you know, it kind of made that match more competitive because she wasn't selling, because she was selling, sorry, instead of not, where we kind of know that spooky characters don't really do a lot of selling overall. I thought that Jordan looked great. She seems to be looking great after every defense she has. I think she's been a better champion than I initially thought she was going to be, but I can't see her title reign lasting much longer, I'm not going to lie, but maybe it's just me underestimating Kalani Jordan. But yeah, I think for me, I get why they've turned Wendy Chu spooky. I get it for the most part. When she was doing the stuff with Xia Li and Boa back in the black and gold era of NXT, she was a spooky character. But it's the kind of wearing pajamas, bring her pillow to the ring, I just can't get behind it. It just seems so ridiculous to me. And I get it, like NXT's full of gimmicks and whatever, and it worked. Again, it worked when NXT 2.0 first debuted, but I just, how can you be spooky and be dressing in pajamas? I don't really get it. And you know, I feel like a good feud for her is probably Tatum Paxley, and maybe we get a change in her then. But yeah, for me, just Wendy Chu, I just don't get it, and maybe that kind of what hindered my interest in this match going into it. But it was decent and I enjoyed it. And after the match, Tatum Paxley did attack, and I don't know if she like submitted Wendy Chu, but she kind of took her out either way. So that seems to be Chu's next feud, and Kalani Jordan will go on to defend against whomever she will defend against. But yeah, I think like it was a solid matchup, good like kind of midway point for this show. I haven't really got any complaints about it, but it wasn't much to write home about either. Another defense in the book for Kalani Jordan. So yeah, just positives all around, just nothing to really massively note about this one. Following that, Oba Femi successfully retained the Men's North American Championship against Tony D'Angelo in a match that was very unexpectedly one-sided. Oba Femi was very much on the back foot for the majority of the match. Tony D'Angelo probably had the match of his life. It's probably the best match I've seen Tony D'Angelo have so far. He absolutely controlled this match, even after having a worrying moment where people thought he might have been injured. He kind of, something happened, Oba went to pick him up and he kind of just slid back down again, down over Femi, and the cameras went off him and only concentrated on Oba, who kind of smiled in a heelish way. They kind of helped that part of the match kind of quickly go by and not worry us too much. Some people did think that he might have been hit straight in the cock, which, to be fair, any man would have gone down to the floor for that, especially if Oba Femi hit you in the cock. But it seemed that like he stood on his ankle seemed to give way, which was a worrying moment, and hopefully, you know, he's not injured in any kind of way, or badly injured at least. But yeah, he like recovered from that fairly quickly and went straight back to the kind of fast-paced match this match had. You know, he was like at one point throwing Oba Femi around the ring, which I thought was very impressive. But as soon as Oba Femi kind of got his bearings and got back into the match, it was kind of over. He kind of at one point distracted himself with the family on the outside of the ring, kind of taking out Crucifino and Stacks, which didn't make any sense to me much. He also attempted, or at least suggested, he was going to use a what do they call it now? I can't remember. He's going to use some kind of weapon that I can't remember the bloody name of now. And that wouldn't have made sense either. I know he would have retained the championship, but that's kind of not how Oba Femi does things. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good match. Not one of Oba Femi's best matches, but a good match overall. I was very worried after Tony D'Angelo hit the spear and got a very close 2 count. I thought, oh my god, this is going to be it for Oba Femi. I can't believe it. But no, Oba Femi fought back. He got a victory from the... He clutched a victory from the jaws of defeat. And yeah, very happy to see Obafemi retain. I think he's been champion since like early January, so he's pretty much spent all year on top and arguably one of the best wrestlers on NXT, which I will kind of talk about in a video kind of later on in the month. But yeah, for me, absolutely fantastic match. And yeah, though it wasn't the match of the night, I thought it was very good. It made D'Angelo look incredibly good in defeat. And yeah, very glad that Obafemi is still your North American champion. Following that, we had Roxanne Perez successfully defend the NXT Women's Championship, against Jada Parker in what was another high-octane match to start with. Both were wrestling really well and incorporating showboating into the works very well. For me, this was like a very close second to match of the night. I thought that both were going really well. I thought tactically, Roxanne Perez did fantastically targeting Jada's ribs. And yeah, I thought that just throughout, we kind of saw at one point near the start of the match that Perez was in a leg scissors that Jada had put on, and where usually someone would just nip out and then get up and kind of continue with the wrestling, that Perez couldn't get out, like she was too small and Jada was too strong. And it kind of made me maybe think about like the times that maybe a heel wrestler was so much smaller than the face wrestler, so they had to kind of use different tactics out. So Roxanne kind of ended up on her head, rolled, flipped over and got out that way, which I thought was like really well done. It was similar to how Riho sometimes gets out of pins in AEW, and she kind of just slides out but still comes to her feet in one motion, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, like as I said, we don't see it very often where the heel champion is so much smaller than the face challenger. I thought it was a really cool dynamic that they had here, but I thought for the first part of the match, Perez was fully in control, was targeting the ribs really well, especially when they went out to the outside and they were using the steps and that kind of stuff. But then as the match kind of progressed, we kind of saw Jada get back into it. She was using a lot of feats of strength to get over Perez's kind of submissions and holds and stuff like that. And yeah, the match became a lot more evenly matched, which I thought was really good. And it was another case of Roxanne Perez kind of elevating her opponents to her level, even if it's just for the one match or just for the feud. And I think she made Jada Parker look like a star here. And oh shit, that's broken. So yeah, I think that overall I thought it was a great match. And then at the end, we kind of had a good transition into the Pot Rocks for the win. And then we saw the debut of Giulia, which is someone I'm very much looking forward to getting to know and to see on NXT. And I feel like she's going to be maybe similarized to Asuka, as far as I feel like she's going to go on quite a run as a new NXT superstar, as well as probably be the person that takes the NXT Championship from Roxanne Perez, which is a shame, but I hope that it leads to Roxanne Perez kind of being called up to the main roster. And I kind of have a video coming up where I'm going to be talking about people who should probably go up to the main roster very soon, or like fairly quickly now. But yeah, I said overall, like probably the second to last match. It was the second to last match, but the second best match of the night, I thought. Very much enjoyable, and Roxanne Perez shows once again why she is arguably one of the best women's wrestlers in WWE, let alone just in NXT. And finally, main event, we had Ethan Page defeat Joe Hendry, unfortunately, to retain the NXT Championship in what was a really good match, to be fair, and I'd probably say it was third for the best match of the night. But yeah, it was very good. It had a very traditional wrestling start to like compared to the rest of them. It was like either high octane or attacking or that kind of stuff. It was actually quite traditional, lockups and arm drags and headlocks and all that good stuff. But the crowd was absolutely electric for this one, and just right and deservedly so. Joe Hendry is incredibly over. Ethan Page is arguably one of the best heels in NXT right now, so and it was a good coming together of face and heel for this show. And yeah, they both absolutely went out and killed it. There was a brutal Ego's Edge onto the apron, which kind of stood out as like one of the highlight moves of the night. But for me, the most shocking part was the refereeing. Trick Williams gets taken out somehow. He's like 6'4" and gets taken out by a push. I have never seen a referee run out to the ring so quickly, ever. In the wrestling history, has there ever been a referee come out so quickly? Like, usually a load of bloody bollocks goes down, and then a referee slowly makes their way down to the ring, and that'll be it. This referee, bam, out there, done. Like, and I was like, what the hell was this? But, you know, referees, they had an absolute mare. The spare referee was stopped by the original referee from counting the pin. Luckily, it was Ethan Page's pin, so it was actually fine overall. But arguably, just like an absolute nightmare situation for referees. Yeah, eventually, Ethan Page, during the kind of mares that the referee had, low blowed Ethan Page. Ethan Page low blowed Joe Hendry, hit the Ego's edge, and a brutal one at that. I thought Joe Hendry was going to land straight on his face. Luckily, he didn't, and he was fine. To get the win, and Ethan Page retains the NXT Championship, which, in arguments, would say does make sense. I couldn't see Joe Hendry getting the win here. Definitely not, as he's a TNA superstar and a TNA wrestler and not a WWE superstar. That they're not going to put a championship on him that isn't part of the company. So it makes sense in that way. But we were all believing. The crowd was electric. Online was electric for it as well. And yeah, just absolutely great match. As I said, very close to being match of the night, but was probably third. I did prefer Roxanne and Wesley and Wentz, but yeah, really good way to end out the show. Just as far as wrestling goes, not the best way to end the show, just because Joe Hendry didn't win and it was a bit sad. But either way, really good show overall, in my opinion. So those are my thoughts and opinions on No Mercy 2024. I thought it was a decent show. I think they once again blew the main roster out of the water here. I'd probably argue that 5 of the 6 matches that were on the show here were really good, very much enjoyable. I think the only match that kind of let it down was Kalani and Wendy Chu, but there was nothing wrong with the match. It just wasn't good as the rest of them, really. It kind of was a section below, but not too far below. But yeah, just a really enjoyable night of wrestling, as NXT do tend to put on. I feel like they're on a hot streak right now, better than the main rosters in my opinion, just because a few shows have let the main roster down a little bit this year, but the ones that were big were massive. So they're not better than the main roster, it's just their consistency is a bit better. But we got that before with NXT when it was black and gold, and NXT were just killing it every month. Well, not every month, but every takeover, and the main roster was struggling. So, I feel like NXT and WWE are like the same bloody good wills at the minute and just doing really well. It's just that their pay-per-views just seem to be a little bit better every so often, which is good to see. It shows that the WWE's future is in very good hands. Speaking of NXT's future, I do have a video coming out about kind of who I feel like should be called up relatively soon, or like right now if they could be. I've got I think it's 5 superstars that I want to talk about who should probably be coming up to the main roster soon. I feel like it'd be a decent video, and hope you stick around for that one. It'll be later on this month, maybe in a couple of weeks. But yeah, as I said, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Do comment down below what you thought of the show and kind of what you think's next for the champions. What you think Giulia is going to be like in NXT. And yeah, I'll ask you to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.